Welcome to the Hope Natural Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Erin Ellis, your host. On this show, we discuss all things health, hormones, and happiness with a little side of this thing called life. Sisley, also known as the Acne Nutritionist, is North America's leading acne-focused registered holistic nutritionist. With 10 years of working as a clinical practitioner and a background in functional medicine training, Sisley has helped thousands of women from around the world clear their acne naturally through her guides, social channels, and coaching practice. I love talking about acne. It's something that a lot of women come to see me for, so I'm excited to have you on the show. Sisley, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to dive in today.
Awesome. Well, first, tell me how you got into this. How are you known as the acne nutritionist? I would assume you probably have had a struggle with acne in your past.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. I am genetically acne prone. So for those of you who are listening and aren't sure what that is, it basically means that I am more susceptible to breakouts in general. And I like to say that I was blessed with genetically acne prone skin, because basically this means that my body will always tell me when something is wrong in the body. And I think that's where the messaging around acne is really missing, right? When we get acne, we usually think, we're doing something wrong, something's wrong with us. But really, if we reframe that mindset and understand that really it's just this beautiful messenger from our body telling us we need to look a little bit deeper, that's where we can really find that magic sweet spot. So it took me a really long time to get there, because I had acne throughout my entire teenage life and young adult life. And I've had every kind of acne imaginable, post-pill acne, acne from mold toxicity, teenage acne, all the things. And I've learned so much along the way. And when it became time to, start my coaching practice and dive into being a nutritionist, I found that there was this huge missing conversation piece around looking at acne from this holistic angle, where we really look at okay, how did we get here in the first place, right? What's triggering it? And then what can we do to prevent it and clear it up at the same time, which sounds very complex, but it can actually be very fun and enjoyable for sure.
Yeah. So you focus on hormonal acne from that root cause perspective. So we often think that a lot of it is due to hormones. But what are some other actual root causes of hormonal acne that women might not be aware of or might be overlooking?
Yeah, and I love that you bring this up, because so many girls come to me and they say, Sisley, I have hormonal acne. I'm getting acne all along my jawline. And we are taught that this is the first sign of hormonal acne, right? When really, like you mentioned, hormonal acne often has even deeper root causes than that. And so it's really fun to kind of dissect this and really look at all the different root causes that acne could bring on. But it can be very overwhelming to the average, person, right? Because we're all kind of looking for this magic fix, this one root cause, what's the one thing that's triggering my acne? So if we look at trends on social media, for example, right now, there are two very trendy acne topics, candida cleansing and parasite cleansing. And everyone's messaging me, Sisley, how do I get rid of my candida that's causing my acne or my parasite? And to be honest, when I look at my practice, I'm not sure about you, but I actually very rarely see candida and parasitic infections. It happens, but they're really not the main thing that's driving the acne, right? But people get caught up in these that's what I have. That's my, magic answer. So with acne, it can get really frustrating because we don't typically have just one root cause, right? So let's say it is an infection, right? A gut infection that's causing your acne, or maybe, it is post-pill acne or whatever. We kind of have to ask ourselves, what brought us to that point, all the layers over the years, because usually what we see is that acne has developed over 5, 10, 15 years, right? It's that domino effect of events that have happened over our lives that have brought us to this one specific moment where the body was just saying, I've had enough, I can't handle it anymore. And that's usually that root cause that people are looking for, right? So I've seen everything from, stress, nutrient deficiencies, mold toxicity, heavy metal toxicity, gut infections, obviously changes in hormones due to lifestyle, environment, diet. It can sound like there's a lot going on at once, but when you really narrow it down to like the foundations of how we clear acne naturally, things are very connected. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't have to overcomplicate it. We can really kind of dissect it and look at those foundations. But definitely, I would say 9 times out of 10, there is more than one root cause when it comes to acne. And I'm sure you see this all the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So there's some other less obvious culprits. You kind of touched on it. You had the mold toxicity, but chronic stress is also a big one that a lot of women probably wouldn't associate. So how do these environmental and lifestyle factors impact our hormones and manifest as acne?
Yes. And this is where it gets, complicated, because we can experience, for example, exposure to mold for years and years and years and years in our environment and never have any symptoms, right? Or we can pick up a parasite in Mexico, 4 years ago and never experience any symptoms. But as soon as we throw other factors into the mix, right? Like a really high stress work environment, or being a mom, or maybe you're just not eating enough of the right nutrients, this kind of puts our body and sends it over the edge. And that's when acne can occur. So what happens with things like mold toxicity or gut infections, whenever there's like that extra stress on the body, as you know, this essentially is like weakening your entire immune system. It's depleting your nutrients. It's kind of putting your body in this like defense mode. And your skin is actually a part of your immune system. And so when our immune function is down, when we have like an infection or toxic load, of course, it's going to show up in our skin, right? We're not going to heal from breakouts very well. So you'll see this a lot with people who take like weeks for their pimples to clear. That's not normal. That's not a good sign. We want a pimple to clear in like 2 to 3 days. That's pretty normal, right? So the immune system is down, so immediately making you more vulnerable to infections. And then, of course, your skin doesn't heal very well. And then we have, all the other factors that go into like manipulating how your body deals with those issues. So stress really tends to be the underlying tipping point for a lot of people, right? Whether, when I talk to clients, I usually see that they've been through a recent, very stressful situation, whether it's like a year or, maybe they're in school or they just become a mom. And we really find out that that's the tipping point for them. So even though they have all these underlying issues, we realize that if we can just get their stress under control, get their nutrients back up, lower the inflammation, that can actually be enough. We don't always have to go so deep when it comes to acne.
Yeah, great. It's usually adding the fuel to the fire. It's usually not the sole cause, but that's the one that, like you said, the tip of the iceberg just made your skin rebel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the fun part.
So those with acne really rely on topical treatments. Like that's usually their first go-to. From your functional medicine background, why do you emphasize that these often won't work long-term for hormonal acne, and what would someone be missing?
Yeah, and I don't blame people for going to those topical solutions, right? Because we're all kind of looking for a quick fix, to be honest. Like if I had one quick fix for acne, I'd be selling it and, I'd be rich at this point, but it doesn't exist, right? And so I don't blame people for this route because, dermatologists are kind of the first point of contact for skin where it's covered under health insurance, and it's kind of all they know and kind of all we've been pushed, right? So I really want part of my job to be like, I want to create this narrative where, that's not your only solution, where we can really start to have this conversation like what you're doing as well in your work, understanding the body, feeling connected, and seeing these signs and symptoms as little messengers, right? And what happens with, antibiotics, spironolactone, Accutane, topicals, right? They might work temporarily. They worked for me temporarily, a few of them when I was younger, until they didn't, right? Because all they were doing was masking the problem. So obviously different medications and topicals are doing different things, but over time, what we see negative impacts on the skin. So we see things like damaged skin barrier with the topicals, right? The skin becomes more sensitive, which means it's harder to heal, right? We see more redness and inflammation. And I see with my clients, the second we take away these topical prescriptions, their skin is like finally free. It can calm down, right? It feels soothed. It feels nourished. So we see that a lot. And then with the medications, again, it's just a Band-Aid fix, right? So it's kind of blocking messengers in the body that are there for a reason. Like, again, your body is trying to tell you something. And what I find is, you know, I always feel bad shaming this route, but unfortunately what happens is we often see people in worse off situations than they were before they started the medication, right? And then we have to go back even further and look at like liver health and gut health and kind of repairing all that from that angle as well, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time and a place for medicine, but it's not always going to fix it. Same thing why I advocate so much about how the birth control is not going to fix your period. But it's a common treatment for it. It's like, well, you can't be on birth control forever, so what's going to happen? And then you have a million other side effects. Yeah.
I've been there.
So speaking of period stuff, what does period acne? We all struggle with it. Most women do. The stupid, annoying hormonal zit that we get. What can that specifically tell us about a women's cycle and the underlying hormonal picture? And then are there different messages depending on when in the cycle breakouts can occur?
Yes. And like you said, this is the most common acne that we experience, especially from teenagehood, when we're, you know, just getting our cycle and our body's learning to create and manage and metabolize hormones. And, you know, we're just kind of getting into the flow of things. Boom, we get our first, you know, cystic pimple. It's very overwhelming, right? And when we talk about period acne, it is very important to be clear that we're not talking about this chronic, constant breakouts on the jawline. That to me is almost always there's something deeper going on. It's not just this like, you know, fluctuating hormone thing. Like there's something chronic going on. So when we talk about period acne, usually we're looking at that like one or a couple pimples that happen. Typically that, you know, week or two leading up to your period, when you're in your luteal phase, when we have those spikes and dips of the hormones. And what is really happening here is it's not a problem of hormones per se, as you know. It's typically a problem of liver detoxification issues and gut health issues. And so that's why we always say hormonal acne is almost always linked back to the gut and the liver, right? Because they're partially responsible for metabolizing estrogen, and then of course removing or eliminating hormones that we no longer need. And if those aren't working, then we're just recirculating those hormones back into the bloodstream, recreating that cycle all over again. So there's some really easy things we can do for period acne, right? Like even just some simple diet and lifestyle things and looking more into like that cycle thinking. And I love that you talk a lot about kind of understanding your hormone cycles and really getting in tune with your body, even just starting to track your cycle to understand like, is my breakout happening even in my luteal phase, or is it happening around ovulation? Because if it's happening around ovulation, that's usually a different sign, something related maybe to a surge in testosterone from an infection, for example. But if it's happening before your period, there's probably something going on with estrogen around that time, is what we typically see. Yeah.
Yeah. So important. Besides the big ones, what are some specific nutrient deficiencies that you consistently see contributing to hormonal acne? And what are some food first strategies, since you're the acne nutritionist, to address these deficiencies?
Something that we talk about, we know, but we don't talk about enough still to this day is just omega-3s. Like I know it's a very big buzzword, but honestly, most people are not eating enough omega-3s in their diet. I still see it, right? Like we know it.
I test it. I know it.
There you go, right? We see it all the time. Yeah. And even I had my omega-3s tested last year and I eat salmon like a crazy person. And here I am and they're super low, right? So it is really fascinating to see the lack that's happening. And that's partially because, you know, as we know, omega-3s are so important for inflammation regulation and for gut health and hormone health. And so we use them more when we're under a lot of stress or when there's something like an infection at play. And so with acne, it is even more important because not only are the omegas helping with the root cause, whether it's like infection or hormones or whatever, but they also play an incredibly important role when it comes to clearing up hyperpigmentation and scarring and like that scar recovery, right? So I'd say like if you're not eating wild fish 4 times a week already, get on that ASAP. That's kind of the sweet spot that I see with my clients is when we really incorporate like their wild salmon, their sardines, like mixing that into pastas. That really helps a lot. And usually I say like, if you go to a local farmer's market, wherever you are in the world, you'll usually find some source of omegas that are locally grown. So for example, when I live part-time in Australia and we see a lot of these fresh walnuts, that's an amazing source of omegas, right? But then when you come to Vancouver, we see the wild salmon. And so it's really beautiful to kind of go in tune with nature and where you're living. So I'd say omegas are huge. Then there's, the usuals as well. But another one that I think is so, so important that I know you will agree with me on this one is the whole talk of magnesium, right? I think you might correct me on this statistic, but I think it's around 85% of women in North America are deficient, something around that. And that is heavily due to the depletion of our soil, right? And so even through like a healthy diet, we just aren't seeing people getting enough magnesium. And you probably see this on lab work all the time, right? So being conscious of those magnesium-rich foods, but then also considering supplementation, I think every woman should be on magnesium, whether you have acne or not, to be honest.
Yeah, magnesiums can help with so many other things besides just acne. Yeah, and if you're on the pill, guess what?
Yes.
Magnesium's depleted. I want to touch or ask you your opinion on the omegas. So what if you hate fish and you're allergic to nuts?
Wow, that is a very tough place to be in.
Supplement, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, even through food, even on top of food, I think supplementation is important when you're in a healing phase. You can do like, if you're having a hard time getting those levels up, obviously like a liquid supplementation would be better. Like a cod liver oil has natural forms of vitamin A and vitamin D, which is great for skin as well. But yeah, as a supplement for sure. I think actually most people should be taking them.
Yeah. And I have one. It's called Harmony Oil. So I think by the time this podcast airs, it should be out of back order. We're out of stock right now. So, but yeah, it's my favorite. It's the only omega-3 support. So I test like we just talked about, and mine were low too. And I've taken various other omega-3 supplements because I eat fish, but what I've learned is we still don't get the therapeutic dose just from eating food now. We just don't. So I supplement and still eat the fish, but this was the only supplement that was getting my levels up. So
wow. Oh, everyone go run and buy that.
Harmony Oil it is, but it is on back order. It should be available. I think your podcast is coming out to the end. Yeah, mid-July. So we should have it in stock by then on the website, but amazing. I digress. Yeah. So I wanted, because a lot of people don't eat fish. And so that's why I see their omega-3s are so low and then they don't like fish. So I just usually, it's okay to supplement in certain situations, but yeah, we try and get a lot of things from food. Fun fact about magnesium, and I think you probably know this, is it's helpful at reducing pain and inflammation, which is why we crave chocolate, because chocolate is rich in magnesium right before your menstrual cycle. So,
and even I supplement with so much magnesium and I can't get enough chocolate. I'm like, that's my body's way of telling me it needs more magnesium.
Yeah. So if you're craving chocolate, you need magnesium. So yeah, magnesium's wonderful. Okay. So you've helped thousands of women clear skin naturally. So can you share one or two of the most surprising yet effective non-dietary or non-supplement strategies you've seen make a significant difference in clearing acne?
Honestly, like the first thing that comes to mind, and this makes or breaks people's acne healing journeys. Like I could scream this from the rooftops over and over and over again, is your mindset. We now understand through neuroscience, like research, that your thoughts can literally manipulate how your body heals. Like you can literally send healing pathways to your body. right? So, and activate, healing pathways. And so this is where people get stuck because, they're eating super clean, they're taking the supplements, they're doing the skincare. But while they're doing all these things, they're doing it in a very, a state of victimhood, a state of anger, a state of, I'm always going to have acne. I'm always going to be this way. And acne is so tough on your mental health. Like that is one of the biggest issues with acne is you're thinking about it all the time, every day. It's front of mind, right? But we simply cannot be stuck in this state of mind if we truly want to heal. So the clients that I've worked with who just have had this positive mindset from the beginning, the way they clear their acne so much quicker than those who are in the other state of mind, it is fascinating. Like we don't even need the research. We can just see it, right? In the day to day. So I would say the mindset tools, and that's why I talk about this all the time in my work, in my method, is that part of that is, I'd say the mindset is like just as important as a supplementation or finding the root cause or whatever. Don't skip this step.
Yeah. So speaking of that, a lot of women with acne feel hopeless, overwhelmed. So what would be one piece of encouragement you could give them to really focus on the mindset and shift that?
Yeah. So one thing you need to keep telling yourself is that you will clear acne. Like I have never seen any of my clients not walk away with clear skin at some point on their journey. Some people it takes 2 weeks. Some people it takes 3 months. Some people it takes years, right? Depending on what's going on, how deep the problem is, how committed we are mentally to the process. And we just have to remember that you're going to clear your acne and just remind yourself that every single day that you are not the girl with acne. You just are experiencing it and you will get through this. And I'm not just saying this as like an affirmation. I truly have seen it over and over and over again. I've been in that position where I thought I'd have acne for the rest of my life, but you won't. You will get through it.
Okay. Yeah, it starts with, and I think that's with any sort of condition, symptom, problem, ailment that you have. Like you aren't your diagnosis. You aren't your diagnosis. And I think like through my journey with having cancer, 15 years ago, that was one of the things that got me through was my mindset. It's like, well, I have no other option but to beat this. And guess what I did? So and your mind is so powerful. It really is.
Oh, it truly is. It's so powerful. Yeah. I dealt with mold toxicity the past 2 years. And the only thing I swear that actually got me through it was my mindset.
Yeah. No, don't forget about the mindset.
Yeah.
So for someone that's tried everything topical, worked on the mindset, what's like the very first natural holistic step you recommend they take to begin getting to the root cause?
Oh, so getting to the root cause can feel very overwhelming. Like we said, there's so many things, right? And for a lot of people, functional testing is outside of their budget, right? They're not ready to invest in something like that. They're not used to investing in their health. So it can become quite scary. So the first thing you can do is just decide that you are in a healing era, that you are in a healing journey, right? And just commit. Don't put a timeline on it, but just tell yourself, today is the day of a new journey and we're really committing today. So that means surrounding yourself with the positive influence, following accounts like yours, like mine, just really understanding that we need to surround our environment in a way that promotes healing, right? Stocking the fridge full of healthy groceries, just getting the right inspiration to set you up for success. And then finding someone that you trust or a resource that you trust to then understand how to clear it, essentially. Yeah. Like that's really what it comes down to. And I'd say like 95% of the work is foundational, right? As we know, but then there's always that like 5% where some people do need that functional testing to really help uncover, is there something really deeper rooted going on that we just haven't found a diagnosis for, right? Like maybe that is like mast cell activation syndrome or mold toxicity or a really serious parasitic infection that, foundations will only get you so far. But that's the minority. That's not the majority of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very true. Well, we could probably talk about acne a lot longer because it's such a hot topic and so many women struggle with it. But have we missed anything that you wanted to touch on that you would feel would be important for the audience to know?
I think just understanding that this is such a beautiful opportunity for you, if you're listening, to learn more about your body and just be gentle with the process. Because again, like I said, acne is just this little messenger from our body telling us that something is wrong, right? So a beautiful invitation to look deeper, to learn more about yourself, to connect to your body. And if we leave these little messengers untreated for a long period of time, it develops into more serious things, right? We see this. They're like the silent killers. But luckily, acne is there. It's showing up. It's telling us that something is wrong. So use that as a beautiful invitation to take the next step.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. So I'll wrap it up with one final question I ask all my guests. What would be your best or favorite health tip that you could share with the audience?
This is going to sound so cliche, but it's something, again, that we all need to hear more of, truly. And that is getting outside, especially as we head into summer. We know that nature heals, right? We see the studies around spending time in nature is literally beneficial for the microbiome, right? It boosts our dopamine, our serotonin, and all these things that we're looking for in trendy products, right? Like red light therapy masks and boxes. We can get red light from the sun, right? All the healing, like the nervous system regulating things, we can do that through putting our feet on the grass or getting into the ocean or a river. And I think it's important for all of us, like even I need to hear that reminder to just spend more time outside. It brings us back to feeling human again. And that's a really important feeling when we feel out of control in our bodies. Yeah. And it's funny when you said we're getting into summer. I know summer just started 4 days ago, but here in Arizona, I feel like it's been summer for 2 months. Already. It's so hot. So it's hard for us here in Arizona to experience nature when it's so hot, but it's possible. Get outside early, wait until the sun goes down. Don't, make the heat your excuse. Even if you just spend, 5-10 minutes outdoors, it could do a world of difference for your mental health and your body in general. So very important to remember. Thank you. I love that.
Awesome. Sisley, it was wonderful speaking with you. We'll make sure we have her website, which is very simple, the acne-nutritionist.com. Same with her social media accounts. We'll make sure to have all this linked in the show notes. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's a wrap, everyone. I'll see you all again next week. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And if you haven't done so, please be sure to give us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. Join us weekly as we inspire you to be your best version. For more, follow me on Instagram at dr.erinellis. Until next week, you got this.